Welcome everyone to Tooth and Claw Podcast. We have our bear biologist, Wes Larson. I am his younger brother. I was a field tech for bears. I'm pretty much a bear biologist by now.
Pretty much not.
And we have Mike Smith, who is our sound tech.
Sound guy.
Sound guy. Master diver.
Yeah.
And
That's what's up.
just all around good guy.
He's sick today, too. He's not feeling good.
I try to be.
Yeah.
I really try to be good, not sick. Sorry, I kind of.
What if you did just try to be sick all the time? There's people that do that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that's Munchausen syndrome. And then there's Munchausen's by proxy, which is where someone keeps you sick because they like taking care of you or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
But
I had
Well, there you
that. Like,
don't
a
listen to
little
me. I don't
bit.
know any of this.
A little bit growing up, I had the exaggerate an injury or whatever. Like if I like rolled my ankle at recess, I'd like limp really,
Yeah.
exaggerate my limp the rest of the day, so people would be like, "Oh, are you okay?"
Yeah. That's
do
just
you know-
being a dude. That's what we do.
You know who does that a lot is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's always trying to make people think he's hurt, sick, trying to get those free throws.
Yeah, maybe he has that thing where he just
Munchausen's
always
or
wants to.
The second we brought up like a syndrome, it made me think, someone's gonna comment and be like, actually, that's
Oh
not
yeah,
what
we
that
have
is.
no idea with this
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So just
Feel
all
free to
right,
leave your
leave
comments.
us alone. Yeah.
but whatever.
Wes,
Yeah.
me and Mike did a little bonus thing for sports.
Oh.
We talked about sports.
Nice.
And he wanted my 25 best athletes of the 25th or of the 20th century.
21st century.
Like
so far.
Yeah, 21st
Yeah.
century.
You're
yeah,
getting there.
that's what it is. No, since like the millennium.
Right.
Right. The 21st century.
2000th millennium so far.
Yeah. Sure.
2000th millennium. Now that'd be 20,000.
When you're talking centuries, you're always
But it's
one
also
ahead of
the
the one you're in.
20th. No, but it's also the 20th century. It's
Jeff,
like
please.
the 20th
Jeff,
and the
you're
21st.
making my
We
my
can't
brain
do this.
hurt.
We can't
Am I-
publish you saying
am I wrong?
this. This
Yeah.
is really going to shoot all credibility out the window for all
Well,
three of us. Like
I
forever.
wanted you to guess my 5 best athletes
Yeah.
of the past
Steph
25
Curry's number
years.
1.
No, he didn't make top 5.
What?
I know.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
All right.
It's crazy. to me.
LeBron James.
No, he's behind Steph.
Oh, okay.
It's
Tom-
also
Tom
shocking,
Brady.
but
Yeah,
Tom
he's
Brady's
number 1.
top 5. Okay. Hamilton in F1.
He made the list, but he didn't get top 5.
Okay. I'm done guessing. Tell me your others.
All right. Tiger Woods was like number 4. Number 2 was Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo.
I like the order you're doing this in.
right.
I kind of forgot the top 5. I'm realizing.
All right. Well, there's 1, 2, and 4 for everyone that's interested. Get a Patreon subscription to hear the
Djokovic,
rest.
I think, was maybe 5.
What about Messi?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
he in there?
Messi was behind
6.
Ronaldo.
Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
Usain Bolt was in the top 5.
All right.
That's right.
Fastest man that's ever lived, that's got to make top 5.
Sure,
That's
gotta
more
give him
impressive than Curry.
All right. That's cool. Well, I can't wait to listen to
So
it.
preview.
This is a good list. I was shocked at how he had one person in there is all that I well, so I guess I shouldn't even talk more about this. We're so far off the rails, but it
We
was
got a lot of
25
animal stuff to
best
talk about.
male athletes of the 21st century. And then we're
Yeah.
going to come back and do 25 best female athletes in the follow up.
I think Serena's got to be number 1 for female athletes. That's just
That's
my
what we-
yeah.
What'd you
Probably.
think?
All right. Well, you guys, we've been talking about bears a lot lately.
Yes,
and we're
sir.
going to do it again today. And that's because this is kind of like an emergency episode. I know a lot of movie podcasts are doing emergency episodes right now about the Netflix merger. We are doing it about something kind of crazy that's going on in the bear world. And I don't want to call it unprecedented because we've kind of got like a Summer of the Shark thing going on here. And we'll talk about that a little bit.
Don't
But-
tell me Netflix is buying all the bears.
They're buying out all the bears. Yeah. Old Ted
Netflix
Sarandos needs
owns
to.
all the bears now.
He's going to make them all CG bears.
Oh,
and
God.
every bear, when it's in a new scene, is going to say exactly what it's doing and why it's there. And all the bears
It
are going
will
to finish
be-
each other's sentences.
It'll be kind of convenient to, like, be able to see the bears from home and not have to go to national parks stuff.
Yeah. No one likes national parks. Everyone likes just being in their house.
Right.
All right. Okay. we're going to start out with a little story. In early October this year, a man in his 70s got up early in his home in the Iwate. Oh, really quick disclaimer. There are a lot of Japanese names in this episode, and I'm just going to do kind of bad on them. I'm sorry. I'm not great at pronouncing those correctly because I am so used to Latin languages. So I'm sorry in advance. I'm just apologizing. Okay.
I don't really care.
Yeah. In the Iwate Prefecture, that's not
I'm
even
not
a Japanese
offended at
word.
all.
French.
Yeah. On the Honshu island of Japan. Okay, so really quickly again, we're going to be talking about 2 islands in Japan. Honshu is the kind of what you picture as the main island in Japan, the big kind of crescent-shaped one where you're going to find Tokyo, a lot of the famous places you hear about in Japan. We're also going to be talking about Hokkaido a little bit, which is the northern island north of Honshu, but we're mostly going to be on Honshu for this episode.
Does all of Japan count as islands?
Yes, it is an archipelago. It is consisted completely of islands.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, you're so big, it's not like Australia.
That's a
Is
good point.
Australia an island?
That's a good point, Jeff. I don't know where you draw the line.
North and
All right.
South America is just one big island.
Huge island. Yep. All right. This man was a mushroom picker, and he was heading out to do the same thing he did most autumn days, which was go into the nearby forest and look for delicious and valuable mushrooms. Iwate is famous for the different varieties of rare mushrooms that grow in shady, damp spots in this forest, and mushroom pickers can actually do pretty well in the fall, foraging for mushrooms to either use for themselves or to sell for a profit. This guy makes his morning tea, he grabs his basket, his rain boots, his overcoat, and he walks out the door. When he didn't return that evening, his family starts to become worried, and they call the authorities. When he wasn't back the next morning, their worry had changed to an all-out fear. Searchers continue to try and locate this man, and then the news that this family had been dreading finally arrives. The mushroom picker's body had been discovered, and nearby, his decapitated head was also found.
Whoa.
Scratch marks and other evidence almost immediately pointed toward a non-human culprit, and one more person was added to the double-digit list of humans that had been killed by bears in Japan in 2025.
Oh, man. I thought maybe it's Mexican cartel at
It
first.
wasn't the cartel. Yeah, he was stuffed in some tires.
Because
and-
our Forest Service cousin Brent was saying whenever there's like a big forest fire, the next year, like morel mushrooms and stuff will grow. And
Yeah.
he's like, the cartels will get in there and not let
mushroom
people
cartels?
in to pick 'em. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Those are
it's
valuable.
like, yeah.
I listened to Paul Stamets. He said
Yeah, dude.
keep your eye on those morels.
Mycelium running. So, the story of rising bear attacks in Japan has been in the news a lot this summer and fall. A lot of people have sent us this story. People have been requesting it a lot, especially people that live in that part of the world. And we decided that it was probably time to do an episode completely dedicated to the story. It's going to be kind of like a news episode. There's going to be a lot of information about a new animal for us, but it's just going to be kind of an atypical episode. And again, I do think even though this has been reported on a lot, we're kind of in the summer of the shark territory here, where I think because it's been popular, these stories, a lot more news agencies are grabbing onto it and reporting about it. And it's not that it's like that crazy of a year compared to some of the previous years, but it is crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not totally unprecedented. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Another tattoo bet for next year if there's more bear attacks or not.
I think I would pick less next year, but
I would
you never
too.
know. All right. So the best place to start, I think, is to give you all some statistics on what has been happening this year in Japan. And something that's a quick disclaimer, something I've found when it comes to East Asian countries and reporting on stories that could potentially affect perceptions of their countries or overall tourism, it's often hard to find a lot of relevant details, or sometimes even like it's really hard to access the actual government reporting. So most of the information I'm going to be sharing comes from mainstream media, unfortunately. I have found a few papers, a few better sources, but I've done my best to sort out what feels legitimate and true, because there is a lot of crazy reporting out there, as we all know.
We do.
And Jeff, do we believe it?
So you need like real crazy ones?
Oh yeah, there's some crazy stuff. A lot of AI. taking over this
Yeah.
story, unfortunately.
I'm
People
hit
don't
or
know what to
miss
believe
if I
anymore.
believe the crazy ones. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't it kind of feel like we just live in a world full of J. Jonah Jamesons these days?
Oh boy,
Just
does it
everyone
ever.
is a J.
Mike.
Jonah.
Huh.
Dude, you want to hear the newest conspiracy theory that's been getting pumped in my algorithm?
Sure.
That the Titanic was like rigged, that they crashed on purpose, and it wasn't even the Titanic.
I've heard that one.
Oh,
I didn't
insurance
know that
fraud.
it wasn't.
There's like different versions of it. There's one
Hmm.
real crazy one where it's like that wasn't even the Titanic that sunk.
Yeah. So, as of December 6th, when I was doing my research, there have been 230 total attacks on humans that caused injuries, which is a crazy number, since April of this year, including 13 fatalities, which breaks the 2023 to 2024 record for a total number of attacks, which was 219 with 6 fatalities.
Whoa.
They do like their year goes kind of a weird. Their what's that kind of year? Not a calendar year, but a
Fiscal?
fiscal year. That's what it is. It goes from like March to April of the next year or something. It's kind of weird. So that's when these stats are taken. They seem crazy, but Japan definitely has to be one of the top 3 countries in the world for overall bear attack numbers. I would put them up there with India, and probably Romania would be the other one, or Russia. They really only started keeping a central database on bear attacks in 2006, but since that database has been kept, this year is definitely the worst year when it comes to attacks and fatalities.
People are always saying America's number one, and
Not
which
for
is
bear
like
attacks.
education, we're not. Mathematics, we're
No.
not. You know,
Healthcare.
bear attacks, we're not.
Yeah.
Healthcare, we're not.
Super Bowls we are.
No.
Military, we are. I think
We are for
still.
Super Bowls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Military spending. Yeah. Depression, probably.
Nukes.
I wonder.
Yeah. Nukes. Okay. So even though there is an argument that this year is probably more on line with the stats that were more common throughout the 1900s and before data was collected and reported, but it's impossible to say, and that's not to detract from the point that there really are a lot of bear attacks happening this year in Japan. But there have been, in past years, in 2014, they had a huge year. 2 years ago, they had a huge year. So this is the most, but it's not by like a massive margin. A lot of you have heard me talk about my cat Toad. I just absolutely adore him. And this is really his time of year. He loves the winter. He just kind of sits by the fireplace. He's constantly sleeping and just looking for the warmest spot in the house. He's a very cozy creature, which I can identify with, so I absolutely love it. And I do feel like this time of year, he also gets pretty hungry. And thankfully, we've got Smalls. Smalls cat food is fresh, protein-rich meals that support cat health and happiness. I think that's really important. I think we read a lot about, making sure your dog or your cat has really healthy food. But for me, I want them to be happy too. I care about Toad. I love him. He brings a lot of joy to my life. So I want to make sure he's happy with the food that he's eating every single day. And starting with Smalls is really easy. You just share your info about your cat's diet, their health, their food preferences, and then they put together a personalized sampler just for your cat. No more picking between random brands at the store. Smalls has the right food to satisfy any cat's craving. My cat definitely prefers Small way more than their previous food. We put both of them out and he ate all of the Smalls and left the other food alone. And I do feel like since we've switched him, he just feels healthier. He has a shinier coat. He seems happier when he's eating. And that's really important to me. So what are you waiting for? Give your cat the food that they deserve. For limited time, because you're a Tooth and Claw listener, get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/tooth. That's 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/tooth. All right, there are 2 species implicated in these attacks. Asiatic black bears on the island of Honshu and brown bears on the island of Hokkaido. So between those 2 species, which would you guys guess is responsible for the larger share of attacks?
Black. Asiatic black bears.
Jeff?
Me too.
Good job.
I think
Whew.
if you replaced all their Asiatic black bears with grizzly bears, there'd be even more attacks. But the Asiatic
Maybe.
black bears just live in closer proximity.
You might be right, but I really don't know because these
they
are
are kind of
very
aggressive.
aggressive little bear. Yep. So we really haven't talked a lot about Asiatic black bears much on the podcast, but they are the species that is by far responsible for the lion's share of attacks. That's confusing.
That's
I shouldn't use that.
What animal are we talking about?
Wes, come on. For the bear share of attack. In the Japanese archipelago.
You think they're like the worst named bear?
Asiatic black bear?
Yeah.
No, I think sloth bears are the worst named bear.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty easily for me. Their nickname is Moon Bear.
I was just
Asiatic
about
black
to
bear.
ask. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's way better.
Yeah,
Right?
and we'll talk about why that is. The Asiatic black bear, I mean, ours are just American black bear. So it's like, if one of them's bad, the other one's bad, you know?
And ours get more
And these ones are
brown.
at least almost always black. Yeah, ours can
Yeah.
often be pretty brown. Okay, so about 97% of the attacks this year involved Asiatic black bears.
Wow.
The attacks from this species happened all over Honshu Island, primarily, but Iwate and Akita prefectures have the most fatalities, with 5 and 4 people dying in those areas, respectively. So a total of 9 between those two prefectures. Am I saying that right?
Prefecture?
Prefecture.
I think you're saying it just fine.
I was saying prefecture.
I wouldn't change a
I'm saying
single
it
thing
like
about you.
Paul Hollywood would say it. Been watching. Thanks, Mike. All right. I'm on the semifinals finally.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My
You
guy
were
Ian
worried.
just got eliminated.
That was so sad.
Yeah.
You were real worried about that guy. You asked me the guy I was worried about because I told you that my favorite guy got eliminated in the first episode of Bake
Yeah.
Off. He's that, I forget his name. He kind
Hassan.
of sounded like a Muppet. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I wanted him to last forever. He seems so friendly. Oh, man.
They have the best casting director in the world. Whoever
Yeah.
does it. They're so good. All right. Quick question for you guys. How big of fans are you of the Dreamstar Fighting Marigold, which is the Japanese women's professional wrestling league?
Huge. Well, I can't say
I'm
that.
trying to get in on this sports conversation with you guys.
Yeah.
How big,
You picked a
how
good
big are
one.
you into Dreamstar Fighting Marigold?
We'll save that for the top 25 women all
Right.
time. Okay.
They'll make up
Perfect.
5 or 6 of those, I'm sure. But no, they're insane. I've seen some clips of women wrestlers over there,
Yeah.
and they're going bigger than the men a lot of times. It's
They
so
are.
impressive.
I watched a little bit myself. Well, if you were big fans, you probably would have heard the name Katsumi Sasazaki before. This was a 60-year-old man who had been a mainstay referee for Dreamstar Fighting Marigold, but he had recently retired from the league. In October this year, he'd been living a much quieter life, working at a local hot springs resort as a cleaner. But on the morning of October 16th, Katsumi had gotten to work doing some cleaning around an outdoor hot springs bath that made up part of this resort. And as he approached the bath, he was unaware that a large Asiatic black bear was also near this bath and was searching the grounds for any kind of food resources that might be around. Katsumi and the bear surprised each other, but only one of them would leave this encounter.
Hot spring would be such a good place for a bear to look for food. It's kind of like a
know.
human going to a hot pot. Just
You remember
get them all boiled up in that water.
Liard River Hot Springs attack, which is
There
like
you
one of
go.
the craziest bear attacks of all time? In the
Yeah.
hot springs. I guess the
Jeez.
lesson here is don't ever go to a hot spring if you're scared of bears.
Mm.
Jeff?
I'm not scared of bears.
He's not gonna
then
stop.
You can go to hot springs.
I'm scared of hot springs.
Just wait till I'm done with this
Me
story
too.
and we'll see.
What if have you seen Dante's Peak?
Oh, yeah. Where
I'm
they get
afraid of
boiled
hot
alive.
springs.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You should be.
At least they died having sex, you know? Those two.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that really affected me when I saw that.
So wait, he's
Too much in
pretty.
a lot of ways.
He's a pretty good wrestler, I'd imagine. I know he's just the ref, but he must kind of know his
Probably.
own stuff.
He knows his
So
game.
I'm giving him. You left us on a cliffhanger. One of them doesn't
Yeah,
make
one of
it
them's
out.
making it out. Yeah.
I feel like it could go either way.
Yep, you're wrong. Around 11:15 that morning, Katsumi's supervisor became concerned because Katsumi hadn't reported back in after his morning cleanings, and he called the police. When they went to where Katsumi had been working, they found shattered cleaning materials, the signs of a struggle, some bear fur, and concerningly a lot of blood, both on the ground and on a fence that was surrounding the bath. It was evident that Katsumi had been attacked by a bear and dragged into the nearby woods, so a coalition of about 30 people that was made up of police, local officials, and a local hunting association launched a search for Katsumi. but that search was called off after about 30 minutes because of inclement weather, which is like, how bad is that weather?
It's got to
you
be
have to call off a search for a victim.
typhoon.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe that's not totally out of the question. I know sometimes some real bad weather hits, but
I guess I don't want to point fingers, but if this
Yeah.
attack just happened a few hours ago, there's a chance this guy's still alive, you know?
yeah, sure.
And that if you go find him, you can stop him from dying. But yeah, again, we don't know the exact conditions.
If you get too wet, though, there's
can
like
get a
a
cold.
pretty good chance you get sick
Yeah, that's true.
if you don't shower. Well, I guess they
really
had the
consider
hot
that.
springs right there.
They got the
could-
hot springs right there, right?
Yeah.
For me, the worst weather would be if it were just really sunny out. I'd be like, I'm waiting for a storm to blow through before I go out there.
If you were on the team,
Sunburns hurt.
they could like put you in once that storm came in.
Yeah,
They'd be
tag
like,
me,
"Oh, we
yeah.
got a guy for this."
Just like a wrestler, a tag team wrestler. Slap my hand, I'm in.
Again, I don't want to be too judgmental, but it would make a lot more sense to me if they were searching at night and they had to call it off because of weather, but this was during the day. So it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But then the next morning, the searchers did make the grim discovery of Katsumi's body in the woods on the bank of a nearby river. His body had been badly mauled and dismembered by this bear. So this is the kind of news that's coming out of Japan this year. And these are the types of stories that if just a handful of them happened in the US, we would be, the news would be overloaded with them. And this is every single day in Japan, they're getting stories about attacks. So we need to talk a little bit about Asiatic black bears, just to get an idea of the animal we're working with. Professionally, this isn't a bear that I've worked with, and I have colleagues that have worked with them a bit, but I haven't really been to a lot of conferences and whatnot where we talk a lot about Asiatic black bears. So I already had a fair amount of basic knowledge about the species part of the episode, but I'm kind of learning along with you guys, which is fun because it's a bear and I love learning about bears. All right. They are generally considered. Actually, I'm going to ask you guys, what, as far as size is considered, where do you think this bear falls in the 8 bear species?
I mean, I'm just gonna think like the American black bear, but just an Asian version of it.
Yeah, so where would it be?
So maybe a little bit slightly smaller.
So what would that make it size-wise number?
Oh,
So
Uh-huh.
polar bears are number 1, brown bears are number 2.
Brown.
Those are the 2 easy ones. After that, what do you
Yeah.
think is number 3?
American or sloth bear 3.
Wrong. No.
American
black bear,
black?
you had it. And then
Sloth
number 4,
bears can be as big as American black bears.
they're smaller. On average, they're quite a bit smaller.
Okay.
The one we saw was really floofy, but I don't
We
know
saw
how
a
that correlates to weight.
Big old floofy sloth bear for sure.
All right, then I'll go Asiatic black bear.
That's
4.
what I would guess.
Correct.
And then sloth bear 5.
They're number 4,
and
then Andean bear's number 5, sloth bear
Oh.
is 6, sun bear is 7, giant panda is 8.
pandas are the smallest bear. I
On
thought
average. Yeah.
sun bear.
I thought so too,
Really?
but that everyone reports it as being giant pandas. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But anyway,
Okay,
I think they got a lot of hair. Okay.
sure.
They generally have a white or cream-colored crescent moon pattern on their chest, which earned them their nickname of moon bear. The rest of the bear is black, aside from a lighter-colored muzzle and sometimes some white around their lips or under their chin. They often have a large hairy mane of longer black hair all around their face, and then they generally have really large ears that are much rounder than those of the American black bear and further down on the side of their head. So they kind of look like a Mickey Mouse bear almost. Adult males on average are going to weigh around 300 pounds or 135 kilograms, and adult females around 200 pounds or 90 kilograms. The biggest Asiatic black bears can be up to like 450 pounds, so they don't have nearly the range that American black bears have. Like American black bears on average are probably even a little smaller, but they can get up to like 800 pounds. So they can be quite a bit bigger on their upper end.
But like Americans are fatter than Japanese people.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Like the people. So
Right.
like our bears are getting into our food and their bears are getting into their
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. Our
You
bears
know.
are getting like Twinkies and pizza, and their bears are getting like ramen and rice.
Fish, sushi.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, fish again? This is what I eat in the freaking wilderness.
That's why their fur is so shiny, shiny, and clean.
Sheeny.
Shiny, shiny.
All right. It is important to mention that these bears, though, Asiatic black bears, are found in many different places with different food sources. So there's a lot of variation in their size still, and their overall morphology, which is kind of all their physical characteristics, is going to vary a lot depending on where you find them. So in some places, they're going to be these big, fluffy, big Asiatic black bears like in Russia, or in Iran, you're going to find a much sleeker, smaller looking bear.
Okay.
Our American black bears, they're going to have shorter, curved claws, which are really good for what?
Climbing.
Clambering.
Climbing. These are climbing bears.
Shelling
Yeah.
pistachios.
Yeah, also good for shelling pistachios. They are a very arboreal bear, and they spend up to 50% of their lives in trees, even more maybe. For that reason, they are almost always found in forested regions in the countries throughout their range. Their range is quite large. They're widespread throughout the South, Southeast, and East Asia. So South Asia, Southeast Asia, and East Asia, they can be found in 18 different countries, all the way from southeast Iran to the islands of Honshu and Shikoku in Japan.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
How'd they get out to those islands? Swimming?
that's a good question.
Stowing
land
away?
bridges, back when there's land bridges.
Hmm.
Jeff,
Iceberg.
what do you got?
Iceberg.
What's going on in that brain of yours? Ice bridges? Sure. Yeah. that might be.
Icebergs.
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 Yeah.
Right.
Well, how do the polar bears get to Iceland?
They swim.
Huh?
Or they ride ice floes. Yeah.
Could
Polar bears
swim.
are used to that. That's part of their natural history.
So it makes sense to you that they're differentiating between, just for example, the North American black bear or American black bear and the Asiatic black bear, whereas the brown bear is just categorized the same everywhere.
Yes.
It's pretty obvious to your brain why that is.
Yes, and actually that's great. Perfect timing, Mike.
Yeah,
It's
why
about
aren't they Asian
what I was
brown
just about
bears?
to talk about. So this bear is considered the most similar to what is thought to be the common ancestor of the old world bears. So when we're talking old world bears, we're talking about brown bears, Asiatic black bears, sun bears, sloth bears. We're not really counting giant pandas because they're kind of their own thing. This bear is the most like that common ancestor. It's derived the least from it, or it's diverged the least from it.
Mm,
And it's
okay.
thought that they and American black bears first diverged about 3 million years ago. So they were the same bear, and they, evolved into different bears.
Mm.
The reason they are their own species is because during that time, enough genetic changes happened to them to separate them into their own species. With brown bears, that just hasn't happened. So even though we have brown bears throughout the world and they can look quite different, those brown bears could still mate. They're still similar enough that they aren't their own species yet. They're different subspecies, but they're not their own species.
I wonder
make
if
sense?
the black bears could mate.
There's a good chance of it. Yeah, I don't know.
Since, like
but I
polar
bet they
bears and
probably could.
grizzlies can mate.
3 million years is quite a bit. And polar bears and grizzlies, we think it might have just been a few 100,000 years that they diverged. So
Mm.
that might be too long, but we'll see. We'll see
Should
once
we-
we made them.
Should we try?
that.
Yeah. That'll be our first live stream.
Once like Japan floats all the way over to United States.
Yeah,
if that's
then
the
we'll
way
be able
it's
to
even
help.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or a big tsunami will pick up some of their bears and push them onto our shores.
That'd be so nice.
All right.
Would it?
Like,
To be for the bears?
it'd be kind of a fun ride.
Are you serious?
Like our black bears, they're highly omnivorous and opportunistic, and most of what they eat is going to be vegetation and masts. So when we talk about masts, we're talking about like nuts, acorns, those kind of things.
Pistachios.
Yeah, pistachios. Yeah, they got those claws. This is all adding up. In Japan, they eat a high variety of different foods, including acorns, beech nuts, wild berries, bamboo shoots, insects, grasses, and roots. It's thought that beech nut trees are potentially the most important food source for Asiatic black bears in Japan because they eat the nuts from the trees in the late summer and fall, but they also eat the young leaves, the buds, and other parts of this tree throughout the year. They do occasionally kill other animals for food in Japan, which are going to be mostly ungulates, and meat comprises varying percentages of their diet depending on which part of their range you might be in. So like the ones in Russia might be eating more meat than the ones in India. You just never really know. Well, you do know, but I don't know which are the most meat eaters. From what I could tell, the ones in Japan get most of their meat from deer and wild boar gut piles that are left behind by hunters.
Well,
I didn't-
those deer like bow to you too.
That's true. And
That's
that'd
kinda
be easy
messed
pickings
up.
for a bear. Yeah.
Right.
It's like, hey, I respect you, and the bear just eats them.
Eats them. Yeah. Well,
Disrespectfully.
they're mostly scavenging gut piles that have been left by human hunters. And I didn't really realize that there is a pretty robust hunting culture in Japan, but it's one that's dying out with modern generations. Okay. In Japan, a lot of Asiatic black bears have started eating human food as well. That ranges from everything for them raiding crops and orchards to breaking into homes or even grocery stores. We did that story on one of our news episodes of that bear that was in a grocery store and they like called in the SWAT team and couldn't get it out for days. Okay.
What are they doing? Just tranquilize it. It's like one of those things where it's like, I could get it out of there.
Yeah.
You think?
I do think that
Yeah.
I think he could. I do think that's part of the issue here, the larger issue, and we're going to talk about this at length later. But I think that the system of wildlife management there is very different from how we do it in North America. And they just don't have a lot of like specialty wildlife bear experts that are on the ground managing. They have a lot of really smart bear biologists, but a lot of the actual management is done by law enforcement and they are not trained for it. So they just don't, they kind of fumble a lot.
This episode is brought to you by Aura. Aura Frames is the answer to every holiday gifting moment. Never struggle again to find the perfect holiday gift. And this has been a problem for me for my entire life. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a bad gift giver. I have to bang my head against the wall for several months before I come up with a good idea for literally anyone in my life. That is, until I discovered Aura Frames. And you probably know what they are by now. They're these beautiful little digital picture frames. You upload all of your pictures. You can even preload a bunch of pictures onto them so they come ready for when you gift them to whoever you're gifting them to. And on Christmas morning, let's say, for example, your dad, my dad, will have a bunch of awesome pictures ready to display right there on the kitchen counter as we're all eating Christmas dinner together. And from that point on, you can share your photos and videos effortlessly. You just straight from your phone all year long. All you have to do is download the Aura app and you're ready to upload pictures whenever, wherever. And something really nice for this time of year, every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code TOOTH at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code TOOTH. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you, Aura Frames, for sponsoring this episode.
When I was back home for Thanksgiving recently, I noticed Wes wearing some dark black socks with orange coloration on them, and I don't really normally compliment socks. But I told him, hey, those are cool socks. And he said, yeah, they're hollow socks. Have you not ordered yours yet? And I hadn't, so I ordered mine right away. So thank you, Hollow Socks. I'm wearing some right now. They feel amazing. But what they are is high quality alpaca socks that are perfect for hiking, but also just for everyday use. Like I wore mine on the airplane yesterday and I swear my feet didn't get swollen at all. And it's probably that slight compression that they have. Also, feet are always the thing that I don't pay attention to when I'm going somewhere cold. Like if I go to a Montana Grizzly game in the winter, you know, a lot of times it's 10 degrees outside and I'm wearing a warm coat, warm pants, and little ankle socks. And guess what? My entire body gets cold. So now I have hollow socks and now I'm prepared. They feel great with my hiking boots, and it honestly makes me want to walk more just having these socks. They're 3 times warmer than wool, but still lightweight. And what I like is if it's a hot environment, they don't overheat. They stay cool, which I don't understand the logistics of that, but it's amazing. Once you wear hollow, you'll never go back to wool or cotton socks again. For a limited time, Hollow Socks is having a buy 2, get 2 free sale. Head to hollowsocks.com today to check it out. That's hollowsocks.com for 50% off your order. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know that Tooth and Claw sent you there.
Okay. Their reproductive cycle is very similar to our black bears. They have delayed implantation. The females enter maternal dens, and they come out of those dens in the spring with their new cubs. Whether or not they hibernate really depends on where you find them. If the weather is cold and snowy in the winter, they will hibernate. So in places where there's scarce food in the winter, they're going to hibernate and reemerge in the spring. And throughout a lot of their range in Japan, they do hibernate.
You could say that about our black bears too.
Yeah, exactly. Like in
Florida
Florida,
and
Mexico, there's places where they're not really going to hibernate because they don't really need to. But always the pregnant female bears will go into dens to have their cubs in the winter. There's a fair amount of human-bear conflict with this species, and a lot of that conflict is in Japan. However, unlike American black bears, where a lot of the attacks and especially the deaths from American black bears are going to be predatory and them investigating people as food, almost all the attacks attributed to Asiatic black bears seem to be defensive in nature. And that explains why there's so many conflicts in Japan. Some experts think that there's over 40,000 Asiatic black bears on the islands of Honshu and Shikoku.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a lot. On those same two islands, there are roughly 108 million people, making it one of the most densely populated places in the world when you're looking at both humans and bears. So pretty crazy. I mean, it's like a really high density for bears, and then it's a really high density for people. So there's a fair amount of potential for conflict, and it makes sense why it's happening.
Is that so? With that many bears, I'm not as familiar as maybe I should be at this point with bear behavior, but are they territorial to the point where that many bears is going to be pushing them into like further into places where they just traditionally haven't been historically?
It's a great question. And yeah, they are. The thing that really affects territoriality with a lot of bear species is food availability. So like with brown bears in Alaska, where they can all sit on a salmon stream and there's tons of food for everyone, they're not very territorial because they don't really have to defend their resources. But if food is scarce and there's not a ton of food, they're going to become much more territorial. And the bears that can't compete are going to have to start taking advantage of alternative food resources. And that's really what's happening. And we're going to talk a lot more about that.
And is having that many bears and humans in the same island going to like overwork the bees?
Yeah, the bees are just like, guys, I need a break. I can't feed all these mouths. Yeah, that's a good question. The bees need a union.
Yeah.
Bees never get to keep their honey.
You're probably right.
What are the bees even doing with the honey, though? Do they eat it? What are they doing?
They got to deal with Godzilla, too.
The bees?
What if Godzilla smashes their beehives? You know?
It's a wild daisy chain of interspecies symbiosis we're disrupting with this many bears, it turns out.
Yeah. Plus, there's another bear species in Japan. Brown bears are found on the island of Hokkaido, and they have been attacking people as well. This year, 2 people were killed by brown bears in Hokkaido. One was a newspaper man that was dragged away by the bear in front of his neighbors while he was delivering newspapers, and he was found later partially consumed and killed in some bushes. And police actually responded to that attack and killed a bear days later, but they probably got the wrong bear based on what I read about this story. The other brown bear fatality involved a 26-year-old hiker that wanted to visit his family's ancestral home in the mountains of Hokkaido. As he left for his journey, his mom warned him to be careful, and those would actually be the last words she would ever say to her son. A day or two later, his parents turned on the TV to hear the story of a young hiker being killed by bears on Mount Raosu.
Oh, wow. That's a crazy way to find out.
Yeah, it was the same mountain their son had been scheduled to hike that day. They then got a phone call from their son's friend who informed them that their son had been dragged off the trail by a female brown bear with her cub. He had heard his friend screaming ahead on the trail at about 11 a.m., and when he ran ahead, he saw him being dragged down a steep slope by a large bear that was actively mauling him. Both the bear and the 26-year-old disappeared into the woods, and his body was recovered the next morning.
He had an invisibility cloak.
That is not what happened. So while there have been a higher than average number of brown bear conflicts as well, when we're talking about this current, bear issue in Japan, we're really mostly talking about Asiatic black bears. And they're getting really, really bold. There's CCTV video that was recently circulated of an elderly woman in Akita Prefecture being attacked in broad daylight on a neighborhood road while she was on a walk. It's kind of a crazy video. This woman's just walking down the road and this bear just like barrels into her. She kind of deflects it actually, and the bear spins to the other side. It hits her again, and then it runs up a tree. And honestly, had this woman fallen over, I think it would have ended a lot differently. But because she didn't, and I think there was oncoming traffic, the bear actually runs away.
It bumped her twice and she stood her ground. That's impressive.
Someone needs to sign her, you know? She
like
should
a
be
roller
like
derby
a
team.
sumo.
Yeah, defensive
Sumo
lineman.
too.
Yeah.
Or she'd be good on American Gladiators.
Dude, that Marigold, Dream Fighting Wrestling League too.
Man.
All right.
She's got a lot of opportunities, I bet, knocking on her door now.
A 69-year-old man was using a public toilet in Gunma Prefecture and had finished his business, was about to leave the small building when a black bear poked its head through the door and made eye contact with him.
That's
Both
always
bear
so
and-
awkward in the bathroom. That happens. You look through
I'm
the
in here.
crack.
I'm in here. It's the worst.
It's
When you
terrible.
can see someone through the crack and you make
Dude.
eye contact.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Mortifying.
Dude. Yeah. They alpha you when they do that. That's the thing. It's the thing, Jeff, that you got to think about.
You think that's an alpha move?
Yeah.
Just
Damn,
to
maybe.
look
you
at someone.
and you're sitting there on the
No.
toilet, totally vulnerable, and they alpha you.
I just think it's
Yeah.
whoever breaks eye contact first is
Oh, that's a
they
good
get
point.
owned. Like if
Yeah.
you maintain eye contact, you're like, you're territorial there.
Yeah,
I
if
am
you
just
like
getting
drop
alpha.
one while you're looking at him,
That's true.
you're
Right.
not getting alphaed.
No.
That's a good point.
Or start peeing.
Yeah. I wish I knew all this. All right. So this guy's using the toilet. A black bear makes eye contact with them in the door, and both bear and human are totally surprised. This man yells and falls backward, but the bear rushes in and claws him as he pinwheels his legs and did his best to scare the bear off.
Is he on one
Luckily-
of those like standing toilets then?
I think
if
he was
falls
done in
back?
the toilet at that point. I think he had been like washing
Oh.
his hands and about to leave the building.
Oh,
but-
okay.
Luckily, this works. The bear fled the scene, and this man was treated for minor injuries. These kind of stories were commonplace this year in Japan, with these 230 attacks reported. There have been so many that a local university created a heat map. Do you guys know what a heat map is?
Yeah.
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 Like
Great.
the
For those
Predator.
who don't know, it's kind of like a map where there's going to be like the more red colors show where there's more activity, and then it'll fade into like different lighter colors. But this heat map shows where bear incidents have been reported and where bears have been sighted so that people in Japan can avoid negative encounters themselves. And it hasn't just been locals that have been mauled. New Zealander Billy Halloran has been living in Japan for years. On October 4th, he was on a trail run in Miyako, Japan, when he stumbled on two Asiatic black bears, a female with a dependent cub, that were staring at him from inside of a bush. Rather than run, Billy started yelling at the large adult bear as it left the bushes and started moving toward him. He was backing away as the bear lunged forward and caught his right forearm in its mouth, and it bit down hard, and he immediately heard the sound and felt the sensation of his bones in his arms snapping.
Oh man.
He fell to the ground, and the bear started mauling his leg, tearing away at the flesh and biting so deep that it removed a chunk of bone from his hip. It then
Jeez.
backed off. He managed to get up. He had a brief standoff with the bear before it left and returned to its cub, and he started actually running in the opposite direction, which is pretty amazing if you can run after a bear, pulled some bone off your hip.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
He called his wife. She called emergency services. He was taken to the hospital where he spent weeks recovering and needed multiple surgeries to repair his wounds. All right, we could go on and on with stories from this year, but I wanted to talk a little bit about why this might be happening and the Japanese response to this uptick in attacks. So first, let's go into why. And I'm mostly just going to be giving my opinion after reading all this stuff. And I have, read some stuff from different colleagues in the bear world that are a little bit closer to this than I am.
Now, us listeners, can we take this as fact?
You cannot take this as, some of it you can take as fact, but if I say it's my opinion, it'll be my opinion.
Right.
All right.
Great.
First and foremost, something you can take as fact is this was a really bad year for some of the bears' natural food sources, especially beech nuts. Remember, that's the tree that they really rely on the most in a lot of parts of Japan. And from what I read, the beech nut crop this year was almost non-existent. And when those normally dependable food sources fail, these bears have to start taking bigger risks to get at atypical food resources that leads a lot of the bears that would typically be content just foraging in the woods, going into communities, raiding orchards, garbages, whatever, which puts them into direct contact with humans and leads to more attacks. And Mike brought up a good point earlier that this is awfully the
invisibility cloaks hiding the nuts.
Exactly. That was the point I was going to bring up that you brought up. No. What Mike had mentioned earlier is a lot of times this is going to be the less dominant bears that aren't able to take advantage of natural food sources. They're going to be pushed out and have to become like, they're going to have to take some big risks to get at food.
Oh, man. So the humans are getting attacked by like the beta bears?
Not always, but sometimes, yeah.
Oh.
Which sucks. Yeah.
That's really, jeez.
I guess that kind of makes sense, though. Like, you and Cyrus would always beat me up growing up. And then whenever, like, my...
Come on.
Not
and then
always.
whenever my... Okay. You guys would often beat me up.
I defended
growing
you from
up.
Cyrus a lot.
So then whenever, like, my younger cousins or something would come over, I would just, like, beat the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
It's just part
it's
of like
more
growing
like-
up with
it's
brothers
like-
and cousins.
I wasn't...
Yeah.
I was just making a point about the Bears.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make you get on the defensive here.
You're right. You're right.
Wes is protesting so
my
much.
Also, our
never
cousins
mind.
were easy fodder for you.
They
You know.
never beat me up. I made that.
Are the beech nut trees what the bears are climbing and sleeping in? Or does it really correlate to what their food source is, the trees they decide to...
It
Live in.
does. Not necessarily what they're not like necessarily living in these trees. They will sometimes sleep in them and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of the trees they climb are going to be for food. And then sometimes they climb them as escape terrain. So if they're just trying to get away from something, they can climb up a tree.
Okay.
And that's the curious thing to me about this is that our American black bears use trees to get away, and that's why we kind of assume they're not very aggressive, is because they kind of always have a place they can hide. And so it doesn't really make sense to me that this bear is so aggressive because they also are great climbers and could just use trees to hide. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but
One of my favorite things about winter is getting a few new clothing items that are soft, warm, but most importantly, look good. And that's why I've really been loving with Tooth and Claw's partners Quince. Their Mongolian cashmere sweaters are only around $50. They're so soft and they look amazing. Also, I've been liking their golf pants, their cashmere pants, and anything with their Australian merino wool. Their outerwear lineup is no joke. Down jackets, wool top coats, and leather styles that are built to last. Each piece is made from premium materials by trusted factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. So why is it so cheap? Well, by cutting out the middlemen and traditional markups, Quince delivers the same quality as luxury brands at a fraction of the price. Go get a Mongolian cashmere sweater right now for yourself and someone for Christmas. I've been really loving the one I got in black. Get your wardrobe sorted and your gift list handled with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/tooth for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/tooth. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/tooth.
This episode is brought to you by Element. Stay hydrated without the sugar, food dye, and other dodgy ingredients found in popular electrolyte and sports drinks. Electrolyte deficiency or imbalance can cause headaches, cramps, fatigue, brain fog, and weakness. You feel the difference when you get it right. You don't want a single one of those, let alone all of them. Element's going to help you get it right. It's a zero-sugar electrolyte drink mix and sparkling electrolyte drink born from the growing body of research revealing that optimal health outcomes occur at sodium levels 2 to 3 times government recommendations. You need more. You need to hydrate more than we're being told, it turns out. Each serving delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes, and it's formulated for anyone on a mission to restore health through hydration and is perfectly suited for athletes, folks who are fasting, or those following keto, low-carb, whole food, or paleo diets. And I gotta tell you, there's no better way to start a day after a good night's rest. You're feeling a little thirsty, just drink a big ol' ice-cold canister of Element drink mix, and you're set for the day. Honestly, I personally can attest to that. It's a great way to start the day. You know you're starting it out right. You're getting hydrated, you're getting all those electrolytes, you're ready to take on whatever the day has in store. And you're gonna wanna try this new lemonade salt flavor they've got. It's available for a limited time only, so get yours while supplies last. It's great. It's one of my favorite, probably my second favorite behind watermelon. Get a free 8-count sample pack of Element's most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase at drinkelement.com/tooth. Find your favorite Element flavor or share with a friend. Try Element totally risk-free. If you don't like it, give it away to a salty friend and we'll give you your money back, no questions asked.
I did read a paper that was titled Mechanisms of Human Black Bear Conflicts in Japan in Preparation for Climate Change. This paper was published in 2020, and it highlights how climate change might be leading to detrimental effects that would cause bears to seek out human food. And one thing I really liked about this paper is I think when we tend to talk about climate change as a society, we only talk about like warming effects, how summers are getting longer and winters are getting shorter. And this paper brings up that climate change is very dynamic, and while the overall trend is warming, it's also introducing a lot of unprecedented variability to places like Japan. So these authors looked at both longer, colder winters and hotter, drier summers to see what kind of effect they would have on human-bear conflict. And they show that climate change is likely to have a really strong effect on the number of conflicts. And that's what we're seeing this year and the past few years in Japan, because a lot of these natural food sources are failing because it's just been so hot and dry there in the summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. You don't want it's like the whole Les Mis thing, right? Like if you're starving, you steal the bread.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
These bears are starving.
At the end of the day, you get nothing but nothing.
They're gonna go into trash and grocery stores and stuff.
Yeah. And you're going to learn we've done all sorts of fucked up shit to these bears, so I don't blame them at all.
I don't blame them. You blame them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, you do. You're always like, we should kill those bears when they go into a shop.
Yeah.
I don't blame them because I don't think we should.
That's true. Don't have anything.
I
Not
got
gonna get
him.
defensive
I
about
got
that.
him tangled up there.
Not all bears, but when there's a lot of them. Yeah, Mike.
Climate change, is that leading to a surplus or a deficit of naturally occurring food sources for these bears? It's like, I don't really know how to ask what I'm asking or trying to ask right now, but like, it kind of seems to me with the weather changing in the way that it is, it would actually lead to more natural
You would think
resources for
that.
these bears. But I'm so far from an expert on any of this that
You'd think that, but the thing about climate change and kind of what happens with a lot of these systems is that the changes are so quickly that the stuff that's able to really quickly take advantage of the changing ecosystem, the changing soil conditions, moisture levels, and whatnot are often invasive plants, and they're often weeds that aren't really edible, that nothing's really going to exploit. And so these other plants like beech nuts, they really require this kind of Goldilocks zone of moisture, of temperature, of whatever to really do well.
Okay.
And the stuff that is really kind of flexible and plastic is often stuff that no one really eats. That's kind
Gotcha.
of the real big downside to it. So these guys pretty much show that climate change has a huge effect on conflict, but there are some additional reasons that people think these conflicts are happening. And one of them is changing population dynamics among people in Japan. Because what's really happening is if Japan they have a decreasing population right now, and a lot of the younger people are leaving these rural communities. They're moving to city centers, and that leaves a lot of these rural communities that are on the edge of bear habitat really underpopulated, and bears are feeling much more confident entering the communities, entering, orchards that have been left kind of to go wild and agriculture that's been left, and they're raiding these places because there's really not
That's
people
interesting.
around anymore. Yeah. So it's making them more comfortable in our civilizations. It's kind of like what we might see in an apocalypse where wildlife kind of takes over these spaces that we used to have.
That makes sense to me why maybe there's not quite so many hunters anymore, because it's usually in those rural centers where, all right, should I just let you?
No, that was great.
It makes
perfect.
sense to me though, right? Because with fewer people there to make up for the communities that typically become hunters.
Yep.
Just
That's a huge part of it too, is that there used to be like 500,000 something hunting permits that were issued every year. And that number has been halved in recent years. There's just really not that much interest in hunting anymore, but they're still killing hella bears in Japan. Yeah.
Sure.
Because like the Japanese countryside seems like it's like awesome and just beautiful and peaceful. Hot springs everywhere, sushi conveyor belts everywhere.
Lining the
And
roads.
then like, you know, in United States right now, just for a long time, people have been going from cities to more rural places.
Yeah.
They see 3 episodes of Yellowstone and they move to a ranch in Montana from LA, you know? So it's just kind of interesting that in Japan, everyone's kind of congregating to the cities.
Yeah. I think part of that is their cities are much more livable and beautiful and walkable and just appealing than our cities are, you know?
Maybe they're afraid of bears too.
Yeah, but they've had
Vicious
bears
cycle.
in Tokyo this year. Like the bears are almost everywhere.
Oh man.
Wow.
And a big part of that, Jeff, you kind of just hinted on something else I wanted to talk about. Is
That's
that
why so many Japanese people are moving to Hawaii, I bet. Now that they got bears in Tokyo.
Yeah. Tiger sharks, though, in Hawaii. Another thing that you just reminded me of, though, that's really interesting about Japan is over 60% of Japan is forested. They've done a really good job of preserving their natural forests. And it's part of what makes the country so beautiful and so loved by the international community. And people there are really used to kind of living around the forest and being near the forest. And it just so happens to have a lot of bears in it as well.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thought experiment to me right now. That obviously I think the ethical course of action is to preserve those spaces where wildlife can thrive. But that is in turn also maybe increasing the chance that that wildlife and the humans living by it get into conflict with each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really, I've just never really thought about it in that way.
But that, to me,
Maybe
that's like...
Maybe it's a good thing that Bolsonaro's chopping down the entire rainforest.
It's not at all.
Keeping the people safe.
Bolsonaro's in jail, too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Let's see if bear
and he can
attacks
rot
increase
in
down
jail. Yeah. The thing is, so yeah, that's a great point. I do think though, like
until the end.
when we when we decide that we want to live next to the forest. You know, I live in a rural area. I have foxes in my yard almost every day. We have chickens. For me, like I would think it would be gross if I decided to shoot that fox, which I'm fully within my rights to do, because it's eating my chickens, because I'm the one that decided I wanted to live in a rural area. I'm the one that's putting out these attractants for these animals. So I have to properly protect, you know, my attractants so that they can't be killed. But I would never in a million years shoot one of those foxes because it's my fault that they're, you know, being drawn to my property. So that's kind of, I think that's the responsibility people have to take. But I wanted to ask you guys a question. When you picture Japanese forests, how do you picture them? Like tell me about what kind of images that conjures for you. I'm talking about the actual quality of the forest, like the density, the light penetration, like what would you
blossoms.
Say? Cherry blossoms.
Samurai swords clashing in the moonlight.
Maybe like if you were an ant at like a bonsai tree shop.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let's go with that.
All right. Maybe I'm not. So when I've always pictured them, I picture them as being very dense, almost kind of like the Pacific Northwest with lots of foliage, really dense cedar forests. And what I learned is that is the more modern Japanese forests, but traditionally they were this really sparse, open, airy kind of forests. And that's what these bears evolved in. But then they brought cedar to Japan, and cedar has really taken over a lot of their forests, and it's become much more dense. And because of that, these bears have actually become much more confident moving closer to cities because the cover is so much better for them than it used to be, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. We have to talk about this for 1 second. There's an argument that the bear population is just simply too high in the country, and that hunting used to keep numbers in check, but the growing unpopularity of hunting and bear hunting in Japan has given this bear population the ability to hit new highs.
Who's like driving that argument?
A lot of people, and pretty much every article I read says that, it's because they're underhunted is one of the reasons. I agree that hunting can keep bear populations or wildlife populations at a pre-decided level or number. What I don't necessarily agree with, especially with bear hunting, is that if you don't hunt them, they'll become overpopulated, because there are natural controls that will stop bears from becoming too successful or overpopulating. And in my opinion, hunting isn't necessary to regulate the numbers of predators in ecosystems.
Okay. I was just going to ask that very thing. So hunting is, at least for predators, you're saying, but because I always hear about the argument for like deer control, population control in the United States. I always hear hunters being cited as a necessary part of that effort. But
with deer, I would almost agree, because we have created perfect habitat for deer and we've removed all their natural predators. So we kind of are necessary to keeping their numbers in check because they have unlimited habitat. But for a lot of animals like bears, if people can stop them from getting at human food sources, then their success is going to be determined by natural food sources. And they're going to get to a level where there just simply can't be more bears in that ecosystem. And it's going to naturally regulate. That's what's happening in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem right now. We think we kind of hit our level of how many grizzly bears that ecosystem can hold.
Oh, wow.
And we don't need to hunt them to regulate those numbers. And that would happen. Go ahead.
The argument would be just like Japan seems to have a lot of bears, and maybe that number hasn't been met like it has at Yellowstone, and they're having like bear problems already at this number.
My argument to that, though, would be the reason that all those bears, they have so many bears, is because they're getting into a lot of human food, and that we're creating endless opportunities for those bears to reproduce and be successful. And if we made it so they weren't able to do that, then they would be naturally regulated.
So would you say the primary deficiency in Japanese bear control at the moment is education?
Yes, that's exactly. Okay. Man, you guys are just on it today.
Snapping.
The next thing I was going to say is that I think there's a bit of a lack of proper education for people that are on the front lines of this problem. The main thing that I think really needs to change is that people need to be educated on how to properly store and protect their attractants so that bears don't have access to them, and that forces bears to rely on natural food sources instead. Also, bear spray is only really just now starting to become really well marketed and accessible in Japan, but it's still somewhat hard to get, and there needs to be a lot of training when it comes to how to use it and proper conflict prevention and what to do when you encounter a bear.
I mean, it takes like 5 minutes to learn how to use it.
Yeah, it does. You're right. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time, but there's still a lot of people that don't even understand what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. And then I think the final thing that's
they should just like critical think a little bit when they hear the name bear spray.
Yeah, sure.
For what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, even in the US, there's people that think it's like repellent spray that you're supposed to like spray
like
yourself.
Mosquito spray.
Yeah.
Bugs.
I think the final thing that's causing these attacks, before we get on to what they're doing to stop them, is the attitude of this species. And I've seen different hypotheses for this on why Asiatic black bears are so defensive. But really, regardless of the reason, this is a bear that is often willing to pick fight over flight. And people that live near them or recreate around them need to be aware of that. And you just need to have deterrence if you're going to be recreating in Japan, in bear country. From what I've read, I would mentally treat this like a grizzly bear. That is the kind of aggression and defensive nature that we're talking about. They're highly defensive animals. So I wouldn't, if I'm going to go out in like prime black bear habitat in Japan, I would want bear spray after reading what I've read. They're not as big, so that like the potential for damage isn't quite as bad, but they're still, I mean, there's still an animal that can kill you.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I know this has been a dense episode, but our last thing we're really going to talk about is Japan's response to all of those attacks. And this is where things get a little wonky sometimes.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about it in the news episode, but
Yeah. Do you guys remember what they used in that one? The news
there's
episode?
a guy in a bear suit in one where
Yes.
like there was just a whole SWAT team and a guy in a bear suit, and
They use a guy in a
took it
bear suit
very
to train.
seriously.
There have been robot wolves.
Robot
Those are
wolves.
sweet.
Those are still
Yeah.
being used. There's a whole company that sells robot wolves for people to use in their
I
fields.
wonder if I could buy one. I want to buy one so bad.
Drones have become really popular in some
Dude.
areas that play the sound of barking dogs and fireworks to scare away bears, which is actually like a pretty effective way.
Yeah.
Like bears could take a wolf.
But not
I'm
a
just
robot
thinking they
wolf.
should do like a robot Godzilla if they
There we
really
go.
want to
Exactly.
scare.
If they're serious, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think it's necessarily that it's a wolf shape. It's just like a scary thing that's making a lot of noise.
Moving. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing that's really kind of caught the most national and international attention is that they are calling in the military to help with this bear problem. And what's a little misleading about those headlines is that the military is actually not authorized to shoot any bears, but they're assisting hunters that are legally permitted to kill bears. And they're also just kind of doing on-the-ground management for this bear issue. Riot police in Japan do have permission to kill problem bears, but like we talked about, they're often not that well trained in dealing with bears. But really what the news is reporting is that there's this all-out war on bears in Japan, and that's not what's going on. There are culls happening. They do these culls almost every year.
It's not like Australia with the emus where they had a real war.
An actual war with like a mounted machine gun. Yeah. They do culls. And when I say that, it's mostly just authorizing hunters to kill a certain number of bears. And I was surprised by how many that number is. I mean, we're talking thousands of bears that are killed by hunters every year in Japan.
Wow. Yeah.
But really, these hunters are saying that they're just not enough to keep up with the growing population. And that's probably true. Okay,
Interesting.
we're almost there. In my opinion, what I think would be the most effective way would be removing the problem bears. This is what they've done in places like Yellowstone. And what that does is it cuts that kind of problem genetics out of the population. And the bears that are teaching their cubs to, raid crops, to go into homes, to do whatever, are being removed. And the ones that are really wild, risk-averse bears are staying, and they're the ones that are doing the breeding. And over time, you kind of work those genetics out of the population.
Yeah, it seems like they need to be better at getting the culpable bear like right away. Because if
do.
you wait a couple days, then it's like, yeah, you killed a bear, but there's a lot of bears in this forest,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And where Jeff would argue you should never do it. I do think in this case where you're having this level of conflict, you do need to remove these conflict bears, or else everyone's going to hate every bear in Japan. And that's not what we want.
I'm in the middle of you two. I think there should be due process. They should be put on trial, have representation.
They kind of are often. Like
Like
they
that.
test their genetics to
That's
make sure
true.
they got
Yeah.
the right bear. Yeah.
That polar bear prison in Churchill.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
like that.
For me, and the reason I think people might bristle a little when they hear that I say that bears should sometimes be killed, but the thing that you don't want, and this is what I just mentioned, is the bears that are causing problems can create a negative perception of the entire species if you allow that to continue happening. And that becomes a really dire situation for the species as a whole. And that is what I don't want to have happen.
Sure.
Okay. While there is a lot of fear in Japan, especially on the north end of Honshu, many people on the island still have a great respect for Asiatic black bears. In
Good.
some of these prefectures, they're considered a mountain spirit, and they have an importance in both Shinto and Buddhist traditions. They also feature heavily in Japanese kawaii culture, or cute culture, which actually has been kind of problematic because a lot of people just think they're like cute, cuddly animals when they're not. But really, the resolution to all of this is to be determined. I think better education, Better deterrence is going to go a long way in reducing conflicts. And over time, I think people and bears are just going to have to figure out a way to navigate climate change together in a more harmonious way. And I think the catch-22 about bear species, especially our black bear species, is they are one of the few animals that are able to switch between food sources so rapidly, which is so great about them. It's like such an amazing thing that they're able to deal with all this shit that we're throwing at them. But the bad part of that is it puts them into conflict with people. And I think we need to have a lot of patience with these animals because we're making them deal with stuff that they've never had to deal with throughout their entire evolutionary history. All right. Do you guys have any questions about the ongoing conflict in Japan before we move on to our categories?
I just have a dumb joke.
Yeah, let's hear it.
That one sumo wrestler lady who the bear ran into twice.
Mhm.
Yeah, she wasn't a sumo wrestler, but yeah.
It's kind of like a kamikaze bear.
Ooh. Good job.
It's when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
All right.
Good job, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our categories.
Okay.
This is kind of a big question, but what's your favorite pop culture to ever come out of Japan? What I want is one movie, one video game, and one anime from each of you.
It's almost more interesting for me to do my second because the number one things are so obvious for me. It's like Godzilla, One Piece, and Final Fantasy VII. It's like those are
That's
my
your
number
answer,
one
Mike?
things.
Yeah.
That's my answer then. We'll go with that then.
We'll give you honorable mentions
Okay.
if you want after.
Yeah.
I would go Battle Royale, the movie, One
So
Piece
good.
for just like anime. And then game, I'd probably go Ghost of Tsushima.
Mhm. Is that from
Uh,
Japan or just about Japan?
It's by Sucker Punch, which is not a French or it's not a French studio. It's not Japanese though.
Okay, I'll go Smash Bros.
There you go.
Oh, that's
Nice.
a good pick. That should have been my game pick. Whoops. All right. I picked Godzilla -1 for my movie. I picked Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo 8-bit for my game. And I picked Princess Mononoke for my anime, which I know is a movie and it's kind of in a
It's
weird,
fine.
but
Yeah.
that's what I picked. Mike, what are your honorable mentions?
No, I
Nerd
was
out for a
surprised-
second.
Neither of you picked Resident Evil 4. That's going to be really high on my honorable.
yeah.
honorable
I didn't know
mentions
that was
list.
Japanese.
Yeah, very.
That's probably my favorite game ever.
yeah.
It's a great
So
game.
really anything by Kurosawa or Kobayashi as far as movies go, Harakiri, Human Condition, Seven Samurai, et cetera.
Yeah.
Amazing movies. And then, man, the anime one's just so hard. But like Redline, if we want to go movies, Spirited Away is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. It's just incredible.
Do you think you like
I'm gonna
Seven
stop.
Samurai so much because it's just pouring rain the whole movie? You just love rain.
It's pouring rain in like one part of the movie. That's a long movie for it to be all rain all the time.
All right.
No.
I also wanted to ask you guys if you could think of any favorite pop culture Asiatic black bears.
So speaking of anime, Kuma 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 Bear, I think is an Asiatic black bear.
Probably
But
that.
I'm not.
Probably
gonna-
just about any Japanese bear you see is going to be.
Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah.
if the Olympics used one, but I don't know.
They did. Yeah,
Okay.
Pick that one.
sure.
Monokuma from the Danganronpa series. More technically a robot with a bomb inside of it, but bear from Japan, so maybe Asiatic.
It was kind of frustrating when I was reading all these articles. They almost all use brown bear photos. And I think brown bears are taking a lot of the heat for, and we are going to talk about Japanese brown bears when we do the Senkabetsu brown bear incident in the early 1900s, which is a big story. But when I went to Taiwan, they have what's called the Formosan black bear, which is a subspecies of Asiatic black bear, and they used it for everything. It's like their national mascot, and I just loved all the cute like black bear stuff everywhere. So that would be my pick, is just like all the ads in Taiwan with Formosan black bears. Jeff, do you have one?
I did the
Olympics bear.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, let's do a quick cage match. I think what I want to do is stack this up against the other bears that we've
Didn't
talked
they-
about.
They're like when they introduced mascots to their prisons, I feel like the first mascot they introduced was a Asiatic black bear, and
You're
it's just like
probably
a
right.
guy in a
Oh,
big bear
yeah.
costume, and it's really funny because he's just in prison, and they have like a full mascot in their prison.
So good.
They're
So
one of
that'd
the
be
top.
mine.
They're one of the top like kawaii animals for sure.
Kawaii.
Kawaii. Yeah. Okay. Cage match. I stacking this up against our other bears, I actually think it beats our American black bear in a lot of fights if we're doing the average weight of each. If we're doing the max size of each, then the American black bear wins that fight. But if it's average size, I'm probably going to put this bear over American black bear and probably over sloth bear too.
Just the aggressive, like
Just
fight or
hyper
flight.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't beat brown bears and it doesn't beat polar bears. Although there are stories in Russia of this bear like scaring brown bears off of kills. So I think they can be really intimidating, but they wouldn't beat them in like a cage match fight. But they're going to beat a
That's
single
interesting.
wolf. Yeah.
It might be
probably.
our third best bear in a cage match.
Yeah, I think so. Probably beats a leopard, wouldn't beat a tiger. Tigers do eat them throughout their range.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons people think they might be aggressive. But that's what I wrote the paper on about sloth bears too. Anyway.
What do you think a tiger's favorite thing to eat is?
Like a deer. Those big
Water
deer that we saw
bison?
in India. The
Or
why
water
am I-
buffalo.
why am I space? Oh, sambar deer. SAMBAR. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's kind of. I think that's their favorite food. Yeah. Also, those huge buffalo, the water buffalo, the guar.
Yeah, guar.
They eat
yeah.
those things?
Yeah,
Dude,
they'll kill
those
guar.
things are massive.
Yeah, guar.
Guar.
Those
Cool
things
band.
too, like
so good.
Yeah,
like bison horns, like they look sharp, but the very ends look kind of dull. You know,
yeah.
they always look like a little beat up and not like sharp. But on
Yeah.
guars, their horns always look just sharp.
Like yes, super
Yeah.
pointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I want to do a quick what would Mike and Jeff do? You guys you're just finishing up in the toilet in Japan, beautiful part of the country,
Yeah.
and a bear pokes its head through the door. What are you doing?
I'm not going to flush. It seems like there might be something in there that might be a little more interesting than me to them, just because the
Okay.
smell is going to be stronger. And then, yeah, while they're going to town on that, I'm going to slip out through that crack.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. What crack?
That the one he's
dark
looking
crack.
for. When I put my invisibility cloak on, won't even see me. Slip right through that crack with it.
You don't want to be in the stall with the bear. So I'll just sit there. I'll probably start wiping.
Okay.
I think I don't want to try to run away with a messy butt still.
You don't want to be mauled with the dirty butt.
It
Yeah.
won't be the greatest cleanup job I've ever done,
Yeah.
but I
sure.
will at least give one go at wiping.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll be slow, no sudden movements.
Yeah.
And then if it gets in that stall, I'm just going to dive under the stall. So
Okay.
then
Oh, that's smart.
if it comes after me, I'll dive back into the stall and just kind of go back
just kind
and
of
forth
go back and
Right.
forth. Yeah.
till
Yeah.
one of us gives up.
Maybe you'll break its ankles,
Juke him.
And
Yeah.
that way, if I haven't finished going to the bathroom, I could maybe
Finish
keep
up.
going like little by little when I'm getting
That's
back
smart.
in there.
That's a good point. You don't want to be uncomfortable.
Because
Maybe-
it didn't seem like there's any other bathrooms close by there. Like that's the bathroom.
Yeah.
Maybe throw your wad of toilet paper over the wall somewhere else to distract it.
Ooh. I like
Yeah,
that.
That might
Yeah.
work, right?
Then you couldn't wipe.
All right.
You have more than one wad of toilet paper. I think.
Oh, thought you meant the roll.
Not the whole.
They don't
roll, no.
use toilet paper
No.
though.
You use the toilet paper and then you
shoot,
throw
I'd
it.
have to wait for the bidet.
Maybe it's one of those fancy bidets that talks though, and you could tell it to say like "Go away, bear" or something.
wait.
Maybe it's like super fancy and it has like a bear spray function.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Squirt it right in the eyes.
What
when it
if you
breaks in.
accidentally hit that function while you're pooping? All right.
Yeah,
So what you're
that's my answer. Is I would
Okay.
bidet bear spray it.
okay? Perfect. I'm glad we got to that. What you're actually supposed to do is actually really similar to what you would do in a brown bear encounter or a grizzly bear encounter, which is group up, get your deterrent out if you have it, slowly back away from that bear. If it does make contact with you, what I've read is to go into fetal position and cover your neck, cover your vitals, and hope the bear is just defensively attacking you, which from everything I read is almost all of these attacks are defensive. They're not really feeding on their victims. So there's a good chance it's just going to swat you a couple times, bite you, and get out of there. Kind of like it did with the New Zealander. He didn't stop that attack. The bear just decided it was done. That is what I've read you're supposed to do. I'm going to look into this a little bit more and talk to some of my expert colleagues to see if that's still the messaging they're telling people. But what I would say, again, is if you're going to be in a part of Japan where you might run into this species, it's a really good idea to find some bear spray and to keep it with you. It's not easy. It's not hard to carry. It's easy to use. It's not that expensive. So I would do it.
All right. Do you think if a bear was mad at you and was like fixing to attack, if you threw an invisibility cloak on, would it be able to like smell and hear you well enough to still get you?
Yeah, can't they like that? The invisibility cloak doesn't. Oh, if you put it on yourself?
Yeah.
I thought you were saying if you threw it on the bear. I was like, that wouldn't do anything.
That'd be extra bad then.
Yeah, I think it'd still be able to get you probably. It'd be confused though.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's not an effective countermeasure.
No, I don't think so.
I think it'd help.
Yeah.
Like if you have one, give it a try.
Yeah, you might as well put it on if you've got it.
Yeah. All right.
What about like the Frodo and Sam rock blanket?
I wouldn't do that either, but I guess it's worth a shot.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it confused a human. I'm sure it'd confuse a bear.
Is that something the hobbits like learned how to do? Because it was perfect.
Sure. It was
I think it was like an elven blanket or something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe elves just have magic.
What about the PETA Malark paint your face like a rock? You know?
That's a good that work too.
Man,
I think that gets rid of some of the scent too.
Sure.
He's covered. He was caked up in that mud.
Yeah, he was.
All right, my next category. We are heading to Japan in about a month and a half. We're doing our tooth and claw trip with our Komodo guests. And then on our way back, we decided to stop in Japan for a little bit because Mike loves the country so much and he wanted to show us a few things. I've only been there for a day. What are you guys most excited for during our time in Japan? I can go first. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
For me, it's the sumo championships that we're going to go to. That's honestly the main reason that I'm taking the diversion is I really am excited to see that atmosphere and culture and just really kind of feel it. So that's what it is.
I mean, it's the overall trip really is because like Mike wanted to go to Japan for a long time and so did Brent. And then when they went, it seemed like it was like better than they even thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to be there. The food probably, and then we decided to go to Disneyland Tokyo. That might be. Yeah,
I'm stoked for that.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were doing that. That's gonna be
excited.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Mine specifically, just because I've been to a sumo tournament before, but as part of our tour package, I think we're going to be able to eat some of their traditional like chonko sumo stew before the matches.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I don't even know. I'm like, I don't even want to look up what that is. So I'm just surprised when we get there, but I'm so excited to just have a big old bowl full of,
knowing because whatever it's just going to be like bluefin tuna.
It's so much weight they're packing on. Yeah. So like, what do they have in that stew? You know,
just pure fat.
It's like carbs and fat, and it's gonna be amazing.
Bear
meat.
All right, this is a very quick category, but it's called best comment you found during your research. While I was researching one of these attacks on Reddit, this is one of the comments. Getting mauled is actually really frowned upon in Japan. It goes against the traditional concept of ikiru, which means to live. It's so dumb.
Shoot. That's
I looked it up and the actual translation is like will to live.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Very disrespectful, but very funny comment. Whew. Couple questions, real quick. Couple listener questions. This one's from Madison. Here's a question. Would you rather A, be able to speak every language fluently, or B, have all of your sim needs, bladder, energy, fun, hunger, hygiene, and social, filled 100% at all times?
Wait,
So
what?
essentially, like, would you rather know every single language, or would you
Yeah.
just feel totally satisfied at all times?
No, I do the language one.
Yeah, the satisfied one doesn't make sense. Like,
No.
I don't play The Sims, but
If
I
you
think it's just yeah.
if
Oh,
you don't
so-
ever feel sad, then you don't appreciate happiness.
Right.
But it wasn't happiness wasn't one of them. It was bladder, energy, fun, hunger, hygiene, and social.
If you feel fun all the time, then
Yeah,
you
that's true.
never
I don't
feel
want to
sad.
have fun all the time. Yeah, good point. Okay, I think we're all language then.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's from Andy. This is kind of a sadder question, but I wanted to read it. Sad listener question here for Wes, but actually mostly Jesse. I lost my soul dog a month ago tomorrow. Does it get better or does it just get easier to live with the grief? My husband and I are both veterinarians, so we help families through this on an almost daily basis, but nothing prepares you for this type of loss, of course. What helped you both through losing your sweet Bryce? I'm not going to ask Jessie this because I don't really want to make her think about it if she doesn't want to. She's still really struggling. I think I'm doing a lot better, even though it hits me still sometimes. It's been about 1.5 years. The thing that helped us the most was getting another dog. And for me, the thing I just tell myself when I miss Bryce is that had Bryce not left us when she did, we wouldn't have rescued Polly. And Polly was in desperate need of a good home. And she's a really tricky dog, but a wonderful, we love her so much. But I think had she gone to a home that didn't have a Jessie in it, someone that was just willing to devote so much time and love toward a dog, she would have had a really hard time. And so the fact that we could get a new dog not only helped us, but it makes me feel like Bryce left at the right time. So that's how I
Can
handle it.
I
Yeah.
Can I ask you a controversial question?
Maybe, but we might cut it. Sure.
How do you feel about Tom Brady cloning his favorite dog and now he just has his favorite dog again in a new dog?
I don't like the dog cloning stuff.
Yeah.
You're not going to have this. The dog's not going to have the same personality. It's going to look the same, but it's not going to have the same personality. And for me, and we've talked about this a lot, I am a huge proponent of rescuing dogs. There are so many good dogs that need homes and they're stuck in shelters and all they want is to be loved and have a family. And when you buy a dog from a breeder or clone a dog, you're denying one of those dogs a home that just needs one so badly. So I just am all for rescues, and that's it. All right. This one's from Dana. If you could all talk to one species of animal, which would it be? And what would be the first question you'd ask? My girlfriend said whales, but we agreed it might be a sad convo.
Sad convo.
I
What
think it'd be a
animal's
long
going to
one.
be like a great conversation?
Yeah. Like a mosquito.
Hmm.
It's going to be like, yum, thank you.
Yeah, maybe a mosquito.
Yeah.
Then it wouldn't make that annoying buzz sound.
You could be like, stop.
Or maybe that one turtle is
Yeah.
like the last male of his species and was just having sex
Lonesome
all the
George.
time. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although, I don't know. Maybe that'd be sad too. In fact, for sure it would be.
I just want to talk to dogs and be like, what do you want? Like, what makes you happiest? You know? So that's the animal I deal with the most.
Okay.
I wouldn't want any animal I like run into frequently. I'd
Yeah.
want it to be like one that I hardly ever see. And then it's
Yeah.
like, hey, what's up?
Like
Maybe
giant
like a mountain
pandas.
lion.
You could
mountain
be like, why
lions.
don't you have sex? Yeah.
Just be like, oh,
Okay.
what's up, dude?
Yeah.
You'd be like, what's up?
It would be like, what's up? And then that would be it. You wasted it. Burned. Mike?
Dude, if you ask a pig what's up and they'd be like, I don't know, I
Can't
can't
see.
I can't look
Yeah.
up. That's what I would choose just to play that prank. Maybe it'd be kind of nice to have just an information network of pigeons in your town. That'd be
Oh,
kinda
yeah.
maybe useful just to have a fleet of, I can't imagine what I'd be
Well, and
interested in enough to talk to them about happening around town, but it's a cool
See,
idea.
that
knows
one's
some stuff.
heavy, though. because like they work for the government, so then you'd learn all these dark government secrets,
Yeah.
and you'd just like no one would believe you. You'd have to keep it to yourself, but it'd be
That's
like
like
way
your
too
life
big
right
of
now,
a
Jeff.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't mind
That
carrying
leads
the burden of
perfectly
knowledge.
into our
No.
next question.
He would be like, these pigeons are nut jobs, dude. These pigeons are crazy. They think that all this just like,
Tinfoil hats.
was planned.
All right, this one's from Vanessa. Vanessa says, would you rather have the ability to know the truth to one conspiracy theory or be able
Oh,
to
man.
make everyone believe one conspiracy theory you make up? So would you rather know the truth to one conspiracy theory or be able to believe everyone or make everyone
So if
believe
you,
a
like-
conspiracy theory you make up?
Know the truth. You just it's kind of what I just said. You kind of just need to sit with that
like no one's
information.
going to believe you. Yeah.
Although it's not. There's people out there that believe them.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's way better than just spreading misinformation.
I don't want to lie about one.
Yeah.
But what if you could, I mean, your conspiracy theory could be something that is for good, you know, if you made everyone believe it.
Like how you guys all made up climate change so that we'd
That's
stop
not true.
Yeah,
burning
that's not.
fossil fuels.
Insane.
That you don't believe that. Jeff doesn't believe that. It's a big disclaimer. I think I would do that. I think I would rather have someone believe my conspiracy theory because I would think of something that would be for the greater good. But knowing the truth to one, it like would be frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe I'd want to know who killed John Benet Ramsey.
Oh my gosh. That's
Actually don't care
that's
at all.
incredibly
I don't care one bit.
inane answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do know the truth to one. The thing is too that
Do you
I
have
think-
one in mind?
I mean, just any of the big ones, really.
I think the moon landing's the one I am most curious about, just because I think there's really compelling stuff on both sides.
Yeah. Well,
Like
I
I
think
would
that-
like to know if the moon landing like happened.
Just like for 100%,
Dude, Buzz Aldrin's going to punch you in the
He's gonna
face if
punch
you're
you
not
so
careful.
He's the one that said that the video was fake.
All right.
On
Huh?
Conan. That's a big show to say that on.
right? I mean, like I'm 99.999 repeating certain that the moon landing happened. It would
Same.
be nice just to have confirmation, and it wouldn't be such like a big revelation in my brain that it would alter the course of my life. So maybe
Yeah.
something like that is the right answer, because I don't want to get into, because with all the other conspiracies, it seems like there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of gray area, a lot of half truths you're gonna have to like still navigate through, and I just wouldn't care to get too wrapped up in any of that. I'm just trying to like live my happy little ignorant life, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to change everyone's mind, so I'm picking the second one.
I'd
Okay.
want to know if Ratatouille was actually able to control that guy's movements just by pulling his hair.
Is there conspiracy about that? Isn't
I mean,
pretty
that's
well
not how
established?
hair works, Wes.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
There's
Seems like a
not
waste.
nerves from your hair into your arms and legs.
Maybe
Yeah.
there are in France.
All right, one more. This one's from Katie. I wanted to talk about this. So, do you guys watch Stranger Things? If so, what are your thoughts on the first few episodes of the new season? Have either of you watched those first few episodes?
No.
Yeah, I
I'm-
watched it.
I have.
I
I
watched
I
season
think
one
it's
as well.
really bad. I think the last scene of the first of the available episodes was really fun. The rest of it has been very unenjoyable to me.
The last
I think
scene
the-
was great.
Yeah,
The writing's
these kids aren't
gotten
good
a little
actors.
lazy.
Yeah,
There's a lot of plot armor with the Demogorgons or whatever,
yeah.
where it's like literally a lady with an axe fending one off, and then an entire army not being able to kill a single one.
Yeah.
And it's
There's
just
like a
kinda
wine
how
bottle that
powerful.
fends one
How,
off. Yeah.
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 How powerful aren't these things? There's
I love that army scene too because they're all in a circle shooting at it and they're not having like bullets whizzing by them and stuff. There's an entire circle around it and they're all firing machine guns at it.
Yeah, they're all
I
hitting
do
it.
Yeah.
kind of enjoy it being like bad enough that social media clips about it
Yeah.
have been really funny.
Yeah.
So that's been fun to see.
I think the
clips.
downside to having a show like this where you have great child actors that then turn into adults is you don't know how good of actors they're going to be once they're like their own people. And unfortunately, I think like more than half of these kids did not turn into great actors. And a couple of them are really bad and they're like really leaning on them this season. And so I just haven't liked it at all. Yeah. All right. We're going to have to do kind of a dark conservation corner for this animal. And if you're really extra sensitive to animal abuse, especially, I would skip this one, but I do think it's important you listen to it to know what's going on. All right. So Asiatic black bears are listed as IUCN vulnerable because they're found in so many different countries. A fair amount of those countries aren't really doing a lot of population estimates. So we don't know how many there actually are. Estimates in Japan range anywhere from 15,000 to 50,000. Most of the things I read said around 40,000. They're under a lot of different threats throughout their range. Their biggest threats are habitat loss.
You said just that one island had 40,000.
That was what I read in most things, but they say it's anywhere between 15 and 50, depending on where you read. But most,
just
I think,
on that
like
one island, though, right?
But Honshu Island's really the only island in Japan they're found. There's one other island that has some, but most of them are on Honshu Island. Yeah.
Is that where Tokyo is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the big main body of Japan. Yeah.
They're under a ton of threats. Their biggest ones are coming from climate change, habitat loss. But another big threat with these animals is poaching and trafficking. And unfortunately, bear bile is a huge market in Chinese traditional medicine. And like even more unfortunate is that there actually is some medical proof that bear bile can be beneficial to humans. But there are synthetic versions of it that are just as beneficial. You don't have to get it from these animals. And bear bile farming is maybe the bleakest, most depressing animal abuse issue in the world for me personally. It's made me cry thinking about it before learning about it, but we are going to talk about it. Basically, what it involves is either catching cubs or breeding cubs into captivity. They put them in cages that are just big enough for their bodies. They're so small that their bodies sometimes grow around these cages. They are hooked up to machines that painfully extract enough bile to keep the bear alive and producing bile, and the bear simply lives its entire life in a tiny cage while it suffers almost continuous pain. They're starved and dehydrated to stimulate bile production. Almost all of them are missing all of their teeth and their claws from desperately trying to get out of these cages. I can't imagine a worse existence for a bear, or really any animal for that matter. Luckily, there are groups that are completely dedicated to the eradication of this practice. They've made huge steps to end it in a lot of different places. One of the better known of those organizations is called Animals Asia, and we're going to link their donation page in the notes. It's a horrible, awful thing. It's one of those things that I almost hesitate to even put in people's minds because it's so terrible. But I do think it's important we know just what we've done to these animals, and don't ever buy anything with bear bile in it, ever. Okay. Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah.
People suck.
I really hate talking about that one. It just bums me out on such a huge level. But we got to get rid of that traditional medicine thing. It just needs to go. Okay. Claw rating. 1 to 10 claws. Give me your claw rating for Asiatic black bears.
This is tough.
Yeah.
I forget when I did for backpacker where I had him. Mike, you go first.
I'm going to go with a 7.5.
Okay.
And
I would have thought that like the Asian bear that's in like Korea and Japan and stuff, you would like the most.
I don't feel much different. I think I gave American black bears an 8 last time we did it. I feel pretty much the same. So I can be generous and give them an 8. I think they're amazing. I think that's, I don't have to explain myself. They're cool animals.
That's fine.
I really do think they're good to have them, bile intact.
I think they might be my last place bear.
Okay.
But,
over like spectacled bears, Andean bears?
They have Paddington.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
That's true.
So it's tough. That's a hard thing to say because they're cool animals. They deserve credit for being that cool.
Yeah.
But I do think I'm going to put them as my last ranked bear, which means I can only give them 7 is as high as I can go. And I'm going to put him at 333.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's only 8 bear species, and I just don't know if I can give any of them less than a 10 claw. So I
Sure.
think I have to give them 10 claws. I think they're kind of a combo between an American black bear and a grizzly bear. Like, they're aggressive or defensive like a grizzly bear. They climb trees like American black bears. I think they're super cute with their crescent moon and like their big ears.
That is cool.
So yeah, they're 10 for me. 10 claw animal.
Good job, bears.
All right. That's it for the episode. Thanks everyone for suggesting it. We definitely listen to you guys when it comes to this kind of stuff. And as always, it's the holidays. So if you're interested in a gift for that toothy in your life, our merch store is open right now. Plus, we have gifting Patreon. You can gift a Patreon membership to your friends or your family or your loved ones.
Or
you
your
get
enemies.
Or your enemies. Yeah, might as well.
Mm.
You
Maybe
save a little bit on the
form
annual
a
membership.
friendship.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, make your
It's a
enemies your
bridge.
friends.
Olive leaf.
Yeah.
So check that out if you're not a member. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Love you guys.
Love ya. We'll see ya.
See you next time.
Bye.